All right, guys, hot day out today. So what we're going to do, we're going to work on today, we're going to work on our 4-point draw stroke, and then we're going to go fishing, and we're going to go bowling. And then we're going to go ahead and correct those two techniques when it comes to our draw. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get into condition one. If you don't know what condition was, I'm going to go ahead and make ready, make sure I'm clear. Take one magazine, insert it, rack the slide, take the other one out, tack reload. Okay, now I've got full magazine plus one in the chamber. And here we go. All right, so first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about our draw stroke. Draw stroke typically is 4-point. Okay, what I do is I take my thumb, first one is going to be number one, take that thumb and that forefinger, and I'm going to go ahead and drive that web of my thumb and my forefinger underneath the tang of my weapon. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and take it out. That's going to be 2. Okay, now I'm coming up here. I'm coming up almost into the high ready or high compression, right? 3, and then present as 4. Okay, so what it's going to look like, it's going to look like something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and break my shot right at that 4th step. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that again. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now if you notice, what I'm doing is I'm punching straight out. Okay, now what did I mean by casting and bowling? All right, a lot of people, when they draw, whether it's from outside the holster or whether it's from concealed, right, they'll want to come out and do this. Okay, if I'm trying to hit my target and I got to come up, and I come up here like this, what I'm gonna do is sometimes overcompensate that particular target, right? Come up over, then I got to come down and readjust, as opposed to come out, punch out right into my front sight and into that target. Okay, so what I don't want to do is I don't want to come out and do this. Okay, I see a lot of, I'm not bagging on law enforcement, okay, but guys that don't train a lot, and unfortunately there are a lot of law enforcement um, that just, they don't train enough. I'm sure they're trained this, I'm sure they're learning this in the beginning, right? But when it comes to actual practicing it all the time, they don't. So you see a lot of guys, and I'm not an advocate of this, and I've studied this a lot, right? A lot of guys, they'll come out, if they're in a situation, and they'll come out here and they'll be in the low ready. Okay, if I'm in the low ready and I'm trying to find something, or I'm looking for a threat, right? The last thing I want to do is find that threat, come up and come back down into my sights. Okay, if I see that threat, I want to come in, right, and come up, then punch straight out up into my front sights. And it's just as fast, but it's more effective if you think about it. Now, if I'm in any kind of a situation, I'm thinking about urban, if I'm thinking about an urban threat, okay, if I'm in an urban threat and I'm a civilian, the way I'm going to teach my students, right, is I'm going to be up in the high port, right? So I'm going to be up here. That way, if I come in, right, and I see a threat and I'm going through my house, right, I'm punching right back down up into my front sight, as opposed to coming here, right, and possibly, right, overshooting that target and coming back down into my sight, which takes way too much long, which takes way longer than it should. Okay, so I don't want any wasted movements. So if I come up and I punch straight out instead of coming up here and then coming back down, right, I just missed my target, and I don't want to do that. Okay, as opposed to coming up into the high port, right, and I see my threat, there it is, coming up, and I'm getting right there center mass when I do that. Okay, the other thing is too, is casting. I see a lot of people, and I see a lot of instructors, and they teach both ways, and I see a lot of instructors that don't correct this, and it should be corrected. Everything is in your front sight, right? So if I'm here, right, if I'm here and I am into my port, am I into my high port, and I am walking high port, I see this. Okay, what I don't want to do is I don't want to do this. Okay, because if I come in and I cast, okay? Bowling, casting. I'm going to do the same thing with my target. I'm going to miss my target. So if I'm here and I come down and I come down here and I cast out, right, then I run that risk of missing my target and not hitting where I want to be. Okay, so either one, okay, is not a good practice. So, right, so if I come in and I'm at high port, or I'm sorry, and I'm casting my shots, I'm gonna miss every freaking time, right? As opposed to coming in and punching out, I'm gonna hit right where I want to be, which is center mass, head, whatever it's gonna be, right? God forbid it's a, it's a threat to where I have to use a failure drill on, or what they call a Mozambique, okay, which is basically 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. Okay, so here, let's go ahead and go through it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, at 4th shot, at 4th stroke is right into, or my presentation, I should say, is right to center mass. All right, so let's go ahead and do it one more time. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there I am, right at center mass. Okay, now these are things that you can practice at home with dry fire. You don't have to be on the range. You don't have to have a live target. You don't have to do anything like that. Okay, get home and practice coming out straight into your front sight, then back in. Okay, straight into your front sight and back in. Okay, grip is important as well, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. Okay, and because sometimes people don't, even though they learn their grip, right, in a stressful situation, hey man, they just pull and draw, which is fine, right, if that's what you have to do. But the more repetition you get, right, the easier it is for you to get into the more correct grip, which basically is get you your front sights into the thread. All right.